Somewhere, right now, someone is being told not to cry. Grief in the modern world is something you're expected to manage quietly, get through quickly, and keep mostly to yourself. But for most of human history, that would have looked insane. Ancient humans didn't hide their grief. They performed it loudly, publicly, and for days at a time. And the deeper you look into why, the more it starts to look like they understood something about loss that the modern world has quietly forgotten. Start with one of the oldest documented grief practices archaeologists have found: ritual wailing. Across cultures separated by oceans and thousands of years, from ancient Mesopotamia to pre colonial Ireland to villages in rural China, historians have found strikingly similar traditions of organized vocal mourning. Professional mourners, often women, would gather at a death, tear at their clothing, cover themselves in ash, and wail in rhythmic, almost musical cries that could last for hours. This wasn't disorder, it was structure. The anthropologist Renato Rosaldo studied grief rituals among the Ilonggot people of the Philippines and found that mourning wasn't treated as a private emotional state to be managed alone. It was treated as a force, something with real, almost physical weight that needed a communal outlet, or it would build up dangerously inside a person. Compare that to how grief is often handled today. Someone loses a parent, takes 3 days off work, and is expected to return functioning normally by the following Monday. There is no wailing, no public performance of loss, just a quiet, private ache that people are largely left to carry alone. Ancient humans built entire social systems around avoiding exactly that isolation. In many traditional cultures, mourning wasn't a solo experience at all. It was choreographed. Communities would sit with the bereaved for days, sometimes taking turns so no one was ever left alone with their loss. Meals were prepared by neighbors, work was paused. The entire social fabric of the group temporarily reorganized itself around the fact that someone was suffering. The psychiatrist Colin Murray Parks, one of the founding researchers in modern grief studies, found something crucial when he began comparing bereavement across different societies. Grief that had a clear social structure, defined rituals, expected timelines, and communal participation tended to resolve with fewer long-term psychological complications than grief that was processed in isolation. Structure, it turned out, wasn't just tradition, it was protective. Consider the practice of sitting Shiva in Jewish tradition, one of the oldest continuously practiced mourning rituals still observed today. For 7 days, mourners remain in one place while community members come to them, bringing food, sitting in silence or conversation, simply being present. The mourner isn't expected to host, perform, or manage anyone else's comfort. For 7 full days, their only job is to grieve. Compare that to the isolation so common in modern bereavement, where friends often don't know what to say, wait for the grieving person to reach out first, and quietly disappear from a person's life within weeks of a loss simply because nobody built a structure requiring them to stay. There's something else ancient grief rituals understood that modern culture often misses. Grief needs a body to move through, not just a mind to think through. Wailing, chest beating, ritual dancing, the physical acts embedded in ancient mourning weren't decoration. They gave grief somewhere to go. Modern grief, by contrast, is often expected to stay entirely internal, processed silently, privately, invisibly, which may be exactly why so many people describe it as something that gets stuck rather than something that moves. None of this means ancient humans grieved less painfully than people do today. Loss was loss, then as now. What they built differently was the container around it. They assumed grief was too heavy for one person to carry alone, and they built entire systems of ritual, timing, and community obligation to make sure no one had to. So the next time you find yourself grieving quietly, wondering why it feels so much heavier than you expected, consider what your ancestors already knew. Grief was never meant to be private. It was meant to be witnessed, shared, and carried, together, by people who understood that the alternative was never really survival at all. It was just suffering with no one watching.